If you're thinking about moving to Plantation, Florida, one of the biggest mistakes buyers make is not understanding how the city is actually laid out. It looks like just another suburb on the map, but when you really break it down, you realize that there are some completely different lifestyles and neighborhoods depending on where you live inside the city. Some areas have acre-plus estates and horse properties, others have golf course communities, and some neighborhoods are just minutes from major shopping, restaurants, and highways. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how Plantation is laid out, where are the best neighborhoods, where the parks and shopping are located, and why the city has quietly become one of the most popular places to live in Broward County. Now, make sure you stay until the end of the video when we will reveal one of Plantation's hidden neighborhoods. And it's quite special, so you definitely don't want to miss it. All right, so here we have an overview of the map of Broward County, and I'm going to outline for you the location of Plantation so you can see where it's bordered. So I'm going to take my little pencil tool here and outline the area in red. So we're essentially going to start coming from the west, basically along this highway called the 595. So this is going to be really important to note because this is going to be a major highway that is going to be an access highway to go essentially from most of the locations in Plantation, depending on how close you are, to get basically over to the east side. So we're going to continue. It gets kind of squiggly over here and comes over to 441 and then comes over by Lauderdale. It goes up north a little bit over to Sunrise and then comes across heading west. And then it's a little square right here. And I'll explain this little square a little bit later in the video and explain this area. And then a little square here. So it's a pretty good sized city compared to a lot of Broward cities. I think I mentioned before, it does have a really centralized location, and you can really tell here because you're a little bit west, but you're also a little bit east enough to be able to get to the east side of town. It's not nearly as far as cities like Weston, Southwest Ranches, Pembroke Pines. So it takes less time to get to like downtown Fort Lauderdale, for example. And I'm going to show you on this map some of the major roads and then also how to get around essentially the area. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the 595. So 595, as I mentioned before, it's going to border the southern part of Plantation. And this is going to be a main highway that you're going to take if you're going to the east side of town. So as an example, you would take the 595 and from here, you would take it over to the airport to get in here. That's kind of an example of how convenient Plantation is. So to get over to the airport, depending on traffic, it could be anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes, depending on traffic and the part of Plantation you're in. So it's pretty close in. You can also take it to 595 and you would take it north here and you would essentially exit Broward Boulevard and head over to downtown and Las Olas, and or continue to take it all the way over to the beach. And Fort Lauderdale Beach would be in this area. And then north of there, that little area circled, that's Central Beach. That's kind of the very touristy, very popular area of Fort Lauderdale Beach, but it's kind of a long stretch. It kind of stretches all the way north a bit. I'm going to outline it here where you have other more quiet areas of the beach as well. So as you can see, it's really not that far from the beach, so it's pretty easy to get to. The other thing that is notable about Plantation is that you're also pretty close to the Florida Turnpike. So the Florida Turnpike is going to essentially run right through Plantation, and you can take this highway and take it down into Hollywood, where you can take it to the Hard Rock Casino, which is quite popular. You can also take the Turnpike north, and you can head to other parts of Broward, and you can actually take the Turnpike all the way up to Orlando and go to Disney. So it's very, very convenient just to jump on there and get around on the west side of town. Now, if you needed to get over to the west, You can certainly jump on the 595 and head westward, and you would have essentially Weston over here along the I-75, or you could take the Sawgrass Expressway, as I'm kind of showing here, and go over to Sawgrass Mills Mall. Now, Sawgrass Mills is the largest outlet mall, actually, I believe, in the country. So it's a very significant mall, great shopping. There's a movie theater there. There's 2 food courts, endless stores. I think there's over 350 stores, and there's even a luxury area with super high-end shopping. It's actually quite lovely. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything about living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida and the surrounding cities like Plantation, then subscribe below so you can be the first to know about our current market in our area. My name is Hector Valdes. I'm born, raised, and have lived in South Florida my entire life. My team and I love helping people make their move to Fort Lauderdale, whether it's 9 days or 9 months. Feel free to reach out. Our contact information is in the description below, and we'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Fort Lauderdale and Plantation. Okay, so I zoomed out the map because I wanted to show you the proximity of some other notable South Florida locations, like for example, Miami. So if you're in Plantation and you wanted to get down to Miami, there's essentially a couple of routes that you could take depending on where you're going to in Miami. So for example, first we're going to talk about going over to the downtown core, where you're going to have Wynwood, the Design District, Brickell, and then head over to the beach. So you could take the 595, which again borders the southern border of Plantation, and you can either jump on the Turnpike, or you could take the 595 going all the way east, and then take I-95 going south. This will come all the way down. Now, I-95 and the Turnpike actually intersect right over here with the Florida Turnpike, which I'm going to outline here just so you can kind of understand this. And this is called the Golden Glades Interchange. So from here, essentially the Turnpike ends there. So you'll continue on I-95 if you're driving down the Turnpike. So from here, you're going to go all the way down, and this down here is where you're going to have the urban core of Miami, all those great neighborhoods I was just talking about. And then from here, you can take either the 195 or the 395 MacArthur Causeway and get over into South Beach, which is a popular destination. Now, I will tell you, it does take some time to get down there. Traffic in Miami can be a little crazy and unpredictable. So I would generally say it's always important to give yourself at least an hour so that you don't arrive to where you're going to late. Of course, that's going to be probably during the hours of no traffic. If you're going in the morning, or even sometimes in the afternoon, you have to probably plan a little bit longer because the traffic is bad. It's worse in the winter months, and in the early spring versus summer, it tends to be quieter. So all of that just really depends. But it's great to have the accessibility to get down to Miami and obviously enjoy everything that Miami has to offer. So here's something that surprises a lot of relocation buyers. Plantation might feel like a quiet suburban city, but it's actually located between some of the biggest job centers and shopping areas in Broward County, which is really interesting. So once you understand, now that I've kind of explained all the major roads, you can kind of see how you can get around to all these kind of areas. So we're going to outline that next. Okay, so I'm going to highlight a couple of the main roads just so you get kind of like the lay of the land in Plantation. So the first one that we're going to outline here is essentially Broward Boulevard. So Broward Boulevard is going to run from east to west or west to east, and it comes all the way across all of Plantation and actually heads straight into downtown Fort Lauderdale. So you could essentially take this if you were working in downtown and you didn't want to catch one of the major highways because of traffic, or you just wanted to be at the ground level, it's just easier. You could literally take Broward Boulevard all the way straight down, right into the center of downtown. So that's pretty cool and pretty convenient. So, and then we have, as I mentioned before, the Florida Turnpike kind of runs, let me start at the top here, kind of runs from north to south, and that goes all the way through. That's pretty easy to jump on. Then we have University Boulevard. The next main road I want to talk to you about is University Boulevard. So that is going to run from north to south, and it's going to come right through here. And this is an important road. It's kind of a main connector in Plantation, and there's a lot of businesses on University. So on University, you're going to have a big mall, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. You have all kinds of different stores and shops and restaurants and all kinds of main things that you need to be aware of. So University is extremely important. The next one up is Pine Island Road. This one's pretty residential as it kind of winds around through different communities within Plantation. You have, it looks like a hotel there, and then here's another hotel. So not a super business heavy area like University, but again, it just connects the city from north to south and south to north, so important to note. Another little road is Cleary Boulevard. This kind of wraps from University and kind of goes over into right in the heart of Plantation, and stops at Hiatus Road. So Hiatus is kind of another main road that goes from north to south. So as you can see here, as I'm kind of outlining this, Plantation pretty much simply is a grid with communities kind of built within the grid. Some of the roads wind around, but generally it's pretty easy to get around because you're not going to end up a lot of streets like dead end or anything like that. It's going to be pretty easy to drive through. Flamingo is kind of the western border of Plantation, and you can see it here, and it goes all the way down. And also important to note that all these roads that head south, all of them have entrances to the 595. So pretty much from anywhere in Plantation, you have easy access to get on that highway and get around town. So super important. So the last road we're going to talk about is Sunrise Boulevard. So Sunrise, we're going to start over on the east side. And Sunrise, it's kind of the same thing where you can take Sunrise and go straight into Fort Lauderdale. It doesn't go into downtown, but it comes pretty close to Wilton Manors, which is a popular destination, and heads all the way east to the beach. So this is Sunrise. It does a little turn on the east side and comes all the way over. And then it comes across this neighborhood, which we're going to talk about shortly, called Plantation Acres. And then it comes over into the big outlet mall, Sawgrass Mills. Great connector road there as well to get around town. Now, I will tell you in terms of traffic, something to keep an eye out for, which I might have mentioned earlier, is that 595 can get pretty busy. It is kind of the main connecting road from the western suburbs of Broward into the downtown area, the airport, the seaport, the beach. So it's going to get heavy. So all the traffic from Weston kind of comes on 595. So in the morning, it starts to kind of build already coming from the west. So by the time you get to Plantation, it's going to start getting heavier. And then the further east you go, the heavier it's going to get in the morning. So important to note that, because I would say generally you need to be aware of that. If you live in Plantation and you're going to be heading east, you need to properly plan enough time. Like, for example, a commute that would normally take 20 minutes may take 30 or 40 minutes because of traffic. So important, something to note in terms of getting around town. Now, other times of the day or maybe on the weekend, you're probably not going to have a tremendous amount of traffic on 595. It's going to be, I would say, a busy highway, but not impossible to deal with. All right, so the first neighborhood we're going to talk about is Plantation Acres. So this is a very notable neighborhood. I'm actually going to outline it on the map, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. So Plantation Acres essentially is the western portion of Plantation. So it's going to run alongside Flamingo. It's going to go north. So it's that little section I was talking about before that actually kind of darts all the way northward and then comes down Hiatus and comes all the way down. And it's a pretty big area. And the reason for that is because it is truly horse country and it is truly acreage. So all the homes here are going to be estate homes. They're going to be large. They're going to be on an acre of land, sometimes a little bit less, many times a lot more. So if you're looking for that type of home where you want a lot of space, this is a great neighborhood to definitely check out. The other thing that's notable about this neighborhood, as I mentioned, is that it is horse country. So if you like to keep a horse and you like to have lots of space in order to ride your horse, this is a great neighborhood for you. Also to note that pretty much most of this area, very different than the rest of Plantation, does not have any HOAs for the most part. So most of Plantation, you're going to have all these different HOAs, and they're beautiful communities. Most of them are not gated. There's a few that are, but very little. But Plantation Acres is not gated, and there are like hardly any HOAs at all. So people really love that because it gives you a lot more flexibility to do, different things with your home, put an addition, and do all kinds of things that you normally would not be able to do in an HOA. I would say with regards to pricing, you're probably going to start in the 900,000 range, even for a 3-bedroom home. So it is a bit more of a price point that's going to be more essentially higher. I wouldn't even say completely luxury, but just because of the acreage of land, it is going to be a higher price point because you're paying for that extra land. In terms of the top tier, I've seen them all the way priced up to about 3 or 4 million. And again, these are going to be big homes. They're going to be on a lot of acreage, and really at that price point, you're probably going to get something that's nicer or remodeled or it's been expanded. So there are definitely some great options if you're looking for that price point. Okay, so the next neighborhood that we're going to talk about, this is where Plantation starts to get a little bit more interesting or a little bit more typical. So this is where you're going to find HOAs and homes that are really just kind of that typical, what I would call plantation style, which is really well known. So, and that's typically where a lot of relocation buyers start to look. So let's talk about that next. All right, so I'm going to highlight Jacaranda Lakes essentially so you can see it on the map, and we're going to start at Sunrise Boulevard on the north side, and then we're going to head down this canal and then over this way along this canal and up this other canal. So you can kind of see in here that there's a lot of water within Jacaranda Lake. So you do have homes that are on the water, have water views. And this is actually a really great location because you have Pine Island Road essentially as a connecting road, and you can take it and go down into different parts of Plantation. The good thing here as well is that you're close to Central Park, which we're going to talk about coming up in the video, which is a great park. It's close by, as you can see right over here. I'm going to outline this for you. And we're going to talk about the parks too, because I can almost highlight on here all the parks. You have Sunset Park, you have Dake Park, you have Mirror Lake Park, you have Armstrong Liberty Park. So as you can see, there's lots of parks everywhere. Plantation Veterans Memorial Park. So it's nice to be in this location, especially if you have children or, if you have animals, to be able to go to a park, walk around, really enjoy the beautiful South Florida weather. So it's nice to have access to all of that. I would generally say the homes in Jacaranda Lakes are pretty well established. They've been there for a long time. Most of the homes were built in the 1980s and 1990s. So they're not quite as old as some other parts of Plantation. Price range, I would say, is probably going to start in the 600,000 range and probably go up to about 1.5 million. Now, obviously, that would depend on if, the home's on the water or not, if it has a pool or not. That's definitely going to affect the price point. I also wanted to highlight, again, this is going to be pretty much a standard in most of South Florida. Our popular Florida supermarket, Publix, is actually located right over here, super close to Jacaranda Lakes. So that's obviously super convenient. You want a grocery store near your neighborhood. It definitely makes life a lot easier. I was going to show a client a community in another location, and the closest Publix is 15 minutes away. So by the time you drive to Publix and you drive back, that's not convenient, but we definitely will not have that problem in most of Plantation. There's always a Publix pretty close. As I mentioned, there's a lot of parks in Plantation. I'm just going to go here and highlight how many parks there are. I believe that there's actually a total of 40, so I probably will not catch everything on here, but I want to show you just a couple of important ones. So obviously we're going to start with Plantation Central Park. It's a really great park. It's going to have sports fields. It has an aquatic center, walking trails. It has a soccer field. So that's going to be right over here. So I'm going to note that on the map so you can see where Plantation Central Park is. So it's a pretty big area. As I mentioned before, we have these other smaller parks. We have Mirror Lake, Roy Salmon Stadium. We have Armstrong Liberty Park. We have Sunset Park. We have Volunteer Park. We have Plantation Acres North Park. We have Plantation Preserve and Linear Trail. We have Walking Park, and we have Plantation Heritage. And then down at the very bottom, we have the Happy Trails Dog Park. So you can see there's quite a bit. We also have Pine Island Park over here. So the next thing we're going to talk about are golf courses. So golfing is a popular thing here in Florida. Obviously we have weather, pretty nice weather most of the time. So I want to note that those on the map for those golfers out there. So you can see that in Plantation, you have great golfing. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the Jacaranda Golf Club. So the nice thing, you can kind of see it's a pretty large park right here. So the nice thing is that a lot of these golf courses are, I would say, pretty affordable. They're not the type of golf course that's kind of break the bank or super high membership fees or anything like that. So it's going to be definitely much more accessible compared to some really ritzy and expensive areas of Broward County. And then the other one is Fort Lauderdale Country Club. So that's right over here. So Fort Lauderdale Country Club actually has a really great neighborhood called Country Club Estate, and it kind of wraps around the golf course right in here and right through here. So there's some actually really pretty neighborhoods right in this area. So obviously Plantation isn't just parks and golf courses. As I mentioned before, you do have amazing proximity to shopping and restaurants and so much. So we're going to cover that next in the video so you can see everything that Plantation has to offer. So first up, we're going to talk about University Boulevard. So I went ahead and highlighted on the map all kinds of different restaurants right along University Boulevard. So we're going to talk about a couple of them now, at least the ones that I'm familiar with. Brio Italian Grill. That's a great restaurant. And it's right here. So the one thing to know about Brio, and you'll see that there's a couple other ones near that area, it's actually located in the Broward Mall. So Broward Mall is essentially this square right here. It's going to be the local mall. It's kind of an easy run in, run out type of mall. If you need to do some shopping, I've been there before. It's pretty easy to get to. I actually live on the east side, and it's a pretty easy drive in. I can get there from where I live in Fort Lauderdale in about 20 minutes. And it pretty much has all the main stores, so it's going to be easy to shop. Then you have Kalou's. I love Kalou's. It's actually a really nice, elegant restaurant. Really beautiful. If you want to go out for a very nice meal, it's definitely a great place. And then as you can see, there's an option for sushi. You really notice here that there is quite a bit of diversity. Sicilian Oven. Here's another sushi place. Here is a tavern, hideaways. So you can see there's quite a bit. The nice thing about University is that if you drive south on University, you're going to cross 595 and you're going to be in Davie. Over in Davie, same thing, you're going to have a ton of restaurants right on University. So not only through Plantation, but as you drive south, you're going to have even more variety of restaurants. Okay, so I wanted to zoom into the Broward Mall area so you can see what else is available here, because it's not only the mall, there's also so much more here. So the first thing I want to know on here, which most people love, is obviously there's a Target. So you're going to be in Plantation and you're going to have accessibility to a Target. That's going to make things super convenient for anything that you need. You can just run over to the Target and pretty much pick up most things. So you're going to have the Fountains. The Fountains is a very nice looking kind of outdoorsy mall that's kind of a strip center but feels really nice. And in here, you're going to have Kohl's and you're going to have Dick's Sporting Goods. And then you're going to have some other restaurants in here, like for example, Chili's. And then there's going to be Urban Air Trampoline and Adventure Park, which is fun for the kids. And then you have this Midtown shop kind of in the back area. So again, really convenient to have these things right in Plantation, right in your backyard when you need it. All right, so I zoomed the map out because I want to show you something else that's really super important about shopping. So essentially, let me highlight these areas really quickly again. So we are going to highlight Plantation Acres right up here, and you're going to see how close you are to Sawgrass Mills. This is our big outlet I mentioned earlier. It's great for shopping, 350 stores, everything that you could potentially want at a discount. So Plantation Acres is super close. You're also going to have, we spoke about Jacaranda Lakes. That's not far at all either. Essentially, you can take Sunrise and come over into Sawgrass. And then the other area that we talked about was Country Club Estates, and that's over here. And essentially, you would take this Broward Boulevard all the way down and then take Flamingo heading north to go over to Sawgrass. So it's great to have this nearby. It's technically not in Plantation, it's actually in the city of Sunrise, but how convenient is that to have all that amazing shopping in a very suburban, very quiet, beautiful area? It's really quite cool. Okay, so wanted to talk to you really quickly in terms of professionals and having job centers nearby in Plantation. So in Plantation, you're going to have Nova Southeastern University. So I'm going to highlight that on the map for you, and that's essentially this area, and that's essentially this area right in here off University, and you're going to have a couple of campuses right over here. So this is really convenient if you're going to university, or if you're working at the university, you essentially have that really close to Plantation. The other thing is the Sawgrass corporate area. So that's going to be over in this section over by Sawgrass. So there's a lot of businesses located right in this area. So lots of corporations are based there. So if you have a job and you have to work there and you're located in Plantation, it's actually super convenient. All right, so there's one little section that we still have to cover, and that is this little neighborhood right here, Plantation Gardens. All right, so you're probably wondering what is one of those hidden neighborhoods in Plantation, or a neighborhood that maybe a lot of people don't know about. So one of Plantation's most overlooked neighborhoods is Plantation Gardens. Located just east of Plantation Midtown near Broward Boulevard and 441, this area actually is one of the original parts of the city. Developed back in the 1950s and 60s, so the homes here have a lot of character, more than the typical subdivision. You'll find mostly ranch-style homes on large lots, many of them 10 to 15,000 square feet, with massive oak trees, mature landscaping that gives streets that classic South Florida feel. It's the kind of neighborhood where every home looks a little different, which is something buyers often appreciate today. Another reason Plantation Gardens flies under the radar is that there is no HOA, which give homeowners the flexibility to renovate, expand, and completely modernize these older homes. In fact, a lot of buyers have been quietly updating properties here, blending mid-century architecture with modern finishes. On top of that, the location is incredibly convenient. You're minutes from Plantation Walk, the Plantation Preserve Golf Course, and the restaurants and shops along Broward Boulevard, making it one of the most centrally located neighborhoods in the city. Yet many relocation buyers don't even realize it exists. Plantation is one of those cities that doesn't always get the same attention as places like Weston or Fort Lauderdale. But once people actually explore the map and see how the city is laid out, they realize how convenient and livable it really is. And if you're thinking about moving to Plantation or anywhere in South Florida, my team and I help people relocate here every single week. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything about living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the surrounding cities like Plantation, then subscribe below so you can be the first to know about our current market here. My name is Hector Valdes, and I'm born, raised, and have lived in South Florida my entire life. My team and I love helping people make their move to Fort Lauderdale, whether it's 9 days or 9 months. Feel free to reach out. Our contact info is in the description below, and we'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Fort Lauderdale. See you next time.